All right, your camera is now live. Pull it out of it.
Y'all know y'all are, right?
We are live.
We are live.
But in the intro, we are live, so that means everything will start before we got viewers. So, give 1 second.
This is it?
Go to the back and put another picture.
Yeah, I put the actual line.
Go back to YouTube. Just did the
Huh? You trying to put a live stream on this? You know the website name, whatever? Put it in. To watch.
Okay,
To watch this amount.
let's.
Oh, it is YouTube.com something. She showed it. Yes, it is. Oh, yeah. Why worry now? Yeah, that. Dancing boy.
That's the thing. We watch these things. We watch those. No. It's working. know you're watching live.
On YouTube.com.
Yeah, it's there. It's live. Oh, yeah, no. If I'm the next comment, I like to take some like or take the mic there. Absolutely.
Okay, ready? Excuse me?
Okay. We're good.
In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Live from McKinley Community Center in the Southeast Bronx Neighborhood Center. Welcome to the More for My Life live stream town hall meeting, hosted by SEBNC and Injoy7 Technologies. My name is Madison. Today our topic of discussion is gun violence and its effects on teens. Remember to ask questions on Twitter at More4mylife, the number 4. And at this time, we would like to welcome our esteemed panelists here in New York who will join this conversation. SEBNC Executive Director, Mr. Damian Kelly, Public Speaker, Peace Advocate, and Bashari YouTube Creator, Mr. James Baxter, Sonic McKinley After School Participant, Jalen, fellow SEBNC Clovers Step, Nadia. We also would like to welcome our fellow youth advocates from New York City, Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, and LA. Houston will not be joining us today because they had a massive flood, but we wish them the best of luck.
Yeah.
Hold on.
For people. Yes. Wait.
Okay, they're gonna go to Dallas. 5, 4. Go ahead and announce Dallas.
Welcome, Dallas.
Okay, go ahead. She doesn't even know you said it.
Welcome, Dallas.
Okay, they need to unmute. Okay, I got you guys, Mike. Okay, the two others, they're broadcasting. You see it?
Hello.
Okay, and let's introduce people to New York. Introduce people to New York, St. Jersey. They're about to introduce
Welcome, New York.
St. Jersey.
Hi.
They can introduce
Hi.
New York.
Closer from the Bronx.
Don't tell them, don't try to watch it.
I'm not.
You guys. Okay, so we're going back to right. And it's on that. It's on that. Not yet.
Before we get into our testimonials, we would like to show our PSA.
Don't have to say. There's a lag. There's a delay. I'm trying to give it time. So we speed up. You gotta give us.
We will come back to the PSA. Now we're going to our testimonial. Seven children die from gun violence a day. It's a problem that affects everyone. Each of our panelists have a testimonial regarding gun violence in 2 minutes or less. Can each of you state how gun violence has affected you, and then we'll hear from our other cities. First, we will start with Mr. Damian Kelly.
Over to him. Camera over to him. Camera over to him.
Thank you and good afternoon. Gun violence affected me, unfortunately, later in my life. The first time I experienced gun violence was as a 19-year-old law student in Washington, D.C. I was walking on Columbia Road in the northwest section of D.C. With a classmate of mine, and I remember it like it was yesterday, and it's actually over 30 years ago. For some odd reason, this guy came up to him and thought he was somebody else and shot him squarely in the chest. The bullet, I remember, lodged right in his chest bone right here. What was so amazing to me, because I'd only seen people shot on TV, you know, they fall down, you don't really see blood gushing out. Unfortunately for Tony, the shot that he got caused massive damage. The heart was bleeding, the blood was pouring out, and I remember just standing there not knowing what to do. A very frightening experience. The young man who shot him ran away. I was so nervous I couldn't even give a description. So that really affected me. The second time was a little bit more personal. A cousin of mine who was involved in things he shouldn't have been was shot. Thankfully, he wasn't killed, but both incidents really left a lasting impression on me and really showed the impact of violence. And it doesn't matter where you are. You know, the first time it happened to me, as I said, you know, I was a law student. I graduated from college, was achieving academically, and this happened to a good friend of mine. So it just goes to show that gun violence, or violence in particular, knows no race, no ethnicity, no income status, no educational status. But it's two events that really shaped my life and helped me become the person that I am today.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. And now we'll go to Jalen.
Gun violence has affected me in two instances. One instance was when I was walking down the block, like a couple blocks from home, and they started shooting. And it was me and my friend. And when they started shooting, we ran. But they was in the car, so they drove past us when they were shooting. So I got on the floor. And then the other instance was when I was asleep and it was a shootout, and one of the bullets went through my window and it was lodged in the wall. And they later that day, the day after, they ended up arresting my cousin and said he was responsible for the bullet that went through my window.
Thank you, Jalen. And now we will hear from Nadia.
Violence has had a few impacts on my life because there would be times that I'll be just walking home, normal day at school or after school, and I would have to call my mom because they started shooting, and I was scared that, God forbid, one day that I would get shot and my mom wouldn't have known what happened or where I was. But a personal issue that had affected me was because I was walking home. I was walking home with a friend on Washington Avenue, and they started shooting, and my friend was hit, and she didn't survive. We didn't know why. We didn't know who did it. So yeah.
Thank you, Nadia.
Let's hear testimonies from our other cities, starting with Chicago.
You can't see it. Which one is that? You can't do it internally. It's a feedback.
So it's not from the last step?
Which one? I can play it in here though. I can play it twice in here.
I blame you for gun violence. And most importantly, I blame you for not speaking out about gun violence. Enough is enough. I am future and I will make parents don't let their guns away. I blame politicians for not passing strong gun laws. I blame negative news for gun violence. And most importantly, I blame you for not speaking out about gun violence. Enough is enough.
Okay, back to them. Back to you. We're back, guys. We're back. We're back.
No. Let's hear testimonies from our other cities, starting with Chicago.
Chicago's having audio issues. Stay with the panel.
At this time, we would like to open the floor for questions. For those of you watching, if you have a question, please submit your question on any of our social media platforms by typing at More4mylife, the number 4mylife, or you can go to our website, www.more4mylife.org. Our first question from SEBNC Clovers Step. Please submit your question on any of our
Mike. Okay. St. Joseph. You're on. St. Joseph, you're on. St. Joseph, you're go. So you can start. You can start the discussion. Start with start with. Do not watch the monitor. Do not watch the monitor. There's a delay. Not to monitor.
Gun violence because they're terrorizing our communities and homes. I'm personally affected by this situation. For instance, I remember a time where I was in public place where shots were fired and I was severely traumatized. As a very awful situation that has occurred to people, I feel personally affected because this is an ongoing part of my community.
I heard none of that. He needs to do that again slowly and to reintroduce himself.
Alright. Hello, my name is Lamine from the Bronx, St. Joseph School. Alright. Gun violence and gun abuse has been terrorizing our community and home. I feel personally affected by this situation. For instance, I remember a time where I was in a public place where shots were fired and I was severely traumatized. As a very reviewing old situation that has occurred to me, I feel personally affected. This is an ongoing current issue in my community and home.
Good. Now have any one of the others have the lead have come up and come a little closer to the camera. Come up to the close to the camera. No. I don't need everybody. All right, let's start the discussion.
I don't think they're ready.
You can start the discussion.
You can introduce yourself.
We have some. Hello, my name is Kara from the Bronx and St. Joseph School, and we have some statistics about teen gun violence. Many children die a year from gun violence. In fact, it's 2,677 kids die from gun violence. Every day people die. 89 people die from gun violence a day. Suicide and homicide are the second and third leading causes of death among ages 15 to 19 in 2017, in 2014, and in 2000. Every minute, 16 people die from gun violence, and every day, 7 children and teens die from gun violence. There is no solution but a starting point. We should start no judgment zone where people can drop off the guns with no questions asked. The main goal is to get the guns off the street. We can also have intense background checks to make sure the person is really incapable of owning a gun.
I think some ways that gun violence. Oh, my name is Lisa from St. Joseph School in the Bronx, and some ways that teen gun violence affects our communities and our families is it makes some people afraid to go outside every single day, knowing that somebody can go up to them and put a gun to their head, and so it affects our communities, especially with our youth that goes to parties. We watched a survey, a video, and it had a survey where almost half of the people say that they have experienced gun violence at parties, and so it's really unsafe for people to go outside sometimes, and it raises fear.
Let's bring it back to this school and see where they're gonna go with it. Okay, guys, back.
At this time, we would like to open the floor for questions. For those of you watching, if you have a question, please submit your question on any of our social media platforms by typing at More4mylife, the number 4mylife, or you can go to our website, www.more4mylife.org. Our first question is from SEBNC Clovers Step, Lala.
Yes, absolutely. Tell them to get ready to start their own.
Thank you, my Asia. Hello, my name is Lala. This question is for Mr. Baxter. As someone who dealt with gun violence as a teen, what advice can you give our youth who think gun violence is the answer to their problem?
Well, first thing I would say to teenagers who think that gun violence is the answer to a solution is that that's the wrong choice to make. Anyone who chooses to pick up a gun has to realize that not only are you about to potentially take someone's life, but you also have to think about the consequences. That person should think about the consequences for their action as well, because nowadays law enforcement, they have a lot of different technologies that they use to capture individuals who use firearms, and so running is not an option at this point anymore. So folks will get caught for their actions. They will be prosecuted and sent to prison if they're found guilty. So as an alternative to using guns to solve a problem, I think that young people should be more willing to create a dialogue, which is to be able to talk to one another. And sometimes that may seem unrealistic at the time because everyone is angry and upset, but it's a better opportunity to find out how best to deal with each other so folks can stay alive and grow older, and so folks can stay free without going to prison.
Thank you, Mr. Baxter. Does anyone else from the panel want to add to this question? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tanya. In your opinion, does gun violence in the mass media make youth more likely to want to shoot a gun? And why? Yeah.
Okay. I believe that to a large degree the media does play a role in the decision making of young people. Media has a lot of influence over a lot of people, but especially the minds of young folks who are still easily led by some of the things that are more popular. And when you see these things take place on TV, you're so far removed from the reality of the situation that you may think that gun violence or using weapons to solve a problem will be that easy in real life, that there will be no consequences. And I think that the media should be more responsible in the images that they put out there, especially on broadcast and television shows that may have a large viewership of young people.
I think media definitely has a role in affecting gun violence. If we look at New York City in particular, and this neighborhood in which we're located, Community Board 3, we're ranked number 46 in the city in acts of violence per the police. This is according to the police records. Communities such as Astoria, Sunnyside and Queens, Woodside, and even Throgsneck have higher incidents of violence than we do here in the Morrisania community. But the media never talks about the violence that occurs in those communities. They only talk about the violence that occurs in this community, even though we have less incidents of violence than those communities. So what happens is the media then begins to portray Morrisania Community Board 3 as a violent community. That rubs off on people. So people begin to believe that if I'm dealing in that community, I got to be violent because the people in that community is violent. The media plays a real strong role in controlling our mindset. And I think we have to, within ourselves as individuals, say that I'm not going to allow the media to dictate whether I react in a violent way or not. What I also find really interesting, and I'll end it here, is that even though this community is ranked 46 in acts of violence, it ranks number 1 in arrest and incarceration for acts of violence. So here we have less acts of violence than a community such as Sunnyside, yet we rank number 1 in the number of people who are incarcerated. So what does that mean? That this community is targeted by the criminal justice system to arrest and incarcerate individuals, which perpetuates the mindset of violence, which rubs off, unfortunately, on the young people in the community. And I think that's what we've got to do, use facts to get people to stop portraying us as a violent community.
Thank you, New York City. Thank you, and now we're going to New York City.
My name is Juan. The Second Amendment clearly states that we have the right to bear arms only if it's under a well-regulated register. This means that gun people having their homes and their houses, it's not the government to do. The government to do is a well-regulated way. So, we have a regulated register, which is organization within the community. There's a specific place where all the guns are regulated and they have such
Okay, that
as
was that.
they have centers in which all the guns are located and they could keep track of it. And instead of just being all over the city, all over the neighborhood, disorganized and everything, there will be organization and much more safety compared to just out in the open.
About the, oh hi, my name is Stacy. These influence of gun violence, they also come from video games like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty, which like in those games you have to like shoot and like kill people, and also from shows like Empire, like how Lucius Lyon, how he got to the top, like how he successed in life, like he got abused by his mother, and also she had a gun to her head, and he also killed one of Cookie's closest family members. And also songs, they also come from songs because like Tupac, yes, most of us love him because of his talent, but also some of his songs were very violent, and they were against, well, most of his songs, they were about this violence on hurting people.
Hi, my name is Tamia, and I would like to talk about how gang affiliation is a part of the reason why there's gun violence. So many innocent bystanders are affected by gun violence in multiple neighborhoods, mainly because of their race. Like some like, because like some Caucasian people might have problems because they're but anyways, to the next topic, sorry. So like many people join gangs for a sense of family, and because they don't have a lot of family at home, and many people find protection in guns, especially because they're in gangs and they know that another gang member or a gang is after them, and so they buy guns. And I would say that a solution to gun violence is having higher background checks and like really investigating the people before you rent a gun, because you don't know everybody's intentions, if they're bad or good. So I would say that those are some solutions.
Hi, my name is Justin, and the topic I'd like to introduce is about how family has an influence in gun violence, because in America, 1 out of 3 homes with kids have guns, and nearly 1.7 million children live in a home with unlocked, loaded guns. Talking to children about the danger of firearms is not enough. And I feel like how Tamia said about background checks being more intensified is another a solution, because million of guns are sold every year in no question acts transactions. Experts estimate that 40% of guns now sold in America are done so without a background check.
Bringing up the subject about background checks, many people may say that there's a lot of teen gun violence, especially in places such as the projects and places where African Americans are mainly located. But gun violence is not defined by zip code. There can be a rich a location where many rich Caucasian people live, and there are many teens there that are smoking and doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, shooting and inappropriate acts that they are not supposed to be doing. So it does not only happen in the ghetto or where many African American lives, it can happen anywhere.
Thank you, New York City. Before we go to any other cities, every is that before we go to any other before we go to another city, this is for everyone listening and watching. If there was 21 students in your classroom, how many days would it take before every student in your classroom is dead due to gun violence? No.
It'll take 3 days.
Yes, that's the answer. Not even a week. Chicago, what is your question? Dallas, what is your question? It'll take 3 days.
So what is
Not even a week.
Oh.
Chicago,
Hi, my name is Leah Johnson. Wait, can y'all hear me?
Yes. Dallas, what is your question?
Hi, my name is Leah Johnson. I'm 13 and myself personally, I haven't been impacted by
My name is Tennessee Lee. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I'm 13. And I haven't been impacted by gun violence either.
Our question is, how does gun violence affect your mood at school? For instance, does it affect your grades?
Can you repeat the question?
Our question is, how does gun violence affect your mood at school? For instance, does it affect your grades?
How does gun violence affect your grades?
It can affect it can affect your grades because if you go to school thinking about something that happened the day before that had to do with gun violence, you won't be able to focus straight in school. Sometimes gun violence can traumatize kids or teens or adults, and we wouldn't be able to focus in school. So, of course, we wouldn't be able to do our work. Our grades will go down, and we'll eventually fail.
Do we ask another question?
Yeah, answer my question.
That's what I was gonna say.
Have you ever lost a friend to gun violence?
I lost 2 or 3 friends. Cause the last friend I heard that got shot, I ain't hear from his family in a minute. But the 2 that did die was one I knew since I was 3, and the other I knew since I was, I think 5. So both were childhood friends, and I didn't see them much. But when I did see them, it was like they were family when I did. And when I lost them, it was weird because I'm not, used to not being around them. I don't know. Shut up.
How normal is it for you to hear about a death or any news about something involving gun violence?
Can you repeat the question?
How normal is it for you to hear about a death or any news about something involved in gun violence?
How long does it take you to hear about the when it comes to gun violence?
Well, I would usually hear about it maybe a day after it happened, or like maybe a few hours after, because usually the news, it'll be on the news before you know it. Or I might hear it through a family member, like I'll be the first person they call to let know what happened. Well, I would usually hear about it maybe a day after it happened, or maybe a few hours
I hear about gun violence.
know it. Or I may hear
I usually hear about gun violence the very next day because every morning when I wake up, I watch the news. And without fail, just about every day, every morning, there's some report on the news about someone being shot at, or someone being arrested with a gun while committing a crime. And even if the gun is not fired during the commission of a crime, it still can be termed gun violence because the gun was the motivating factor or the tool used in order to commit the crime. So it's every day. I wake up in the morning, and like I said, I watch the news, and there it is every day, and it's usually young folks that grow up in the communities that we're all familiar with. Fired during the commission of crime, it still can be termed
Thank
gun
you, Dallas.
violence because the motivating factor or the tool used.
Oh, last question. Are there any local laws in place to protect school perimeters?
There it is. Every day, young folks grow up in the communities that we're all familiar with.
Did you hear?
Oh, does anyone have a question to ask? It could be from the audience too.
We have a question. Are there any local laws in place to protect school perimeters?
How do you feel about gun violence increasing in your community or in the communities?
Well, to me, gun violence increasing, I mean, it hurts because it's like that people, it's like innocent people, because a bullet never has a name on it. A bullet can hit anyone. It can hit an innocent person who could just be walking down the street, wrong place, wrong time. And it's more of the fact that not only does the innocent person suffer, but the family has to suffer too, because grieving a loss isn't as easy as it sounds. You don't just get over a death or someone in your family getting shot. But you can hit an innocent person who could just be walking down the street, wrong place, right time. And it's the fact that not only does the
Gun violence raising in the community, it's not so much as a surprise because you kind of expect it to happen after a while, but that's no excuse. Because one person who could just say, nah, I'm not going to shoot him, could change a lot. Because the more people hear about, oh, this person got shot, the more somebody else want to go after the other person who shot the person. And then it's just a chain reaction, everybody just getting shot, and it's a whole bunch of, I wouldn't say violence, but more of a feud between a certain group of people. It doesn't have to be a gang. It doesn't have to be a certain type of alliance. It could just be a group of people.
Does anyone have a question? Anyone else have a question?
How do you? My name is John Bryce. How do you? How do you plan to stop gun violence in your neighborhood?
Well, what we have been doing is stepping against gun violence. Since our community is like good, like known for gun violence, we step against it. And when we started stepping, after a few months, we haven't had a gunshot or heard a gunshot. So we could get our word we could get our word out about gun violence and like helping people to not not shoot or use violence or use their words.
Um, I mean, a suggestion is the people, the younger crowd of the neighborhood, whoever they look up to, we should talk to them, and hopefully, in their right mind, they'll go with what we're suggesting. Like, because usually, if it's gangs or anything, usually the feuds come to a stop and they team up against one thing, like Black Panthers or anything like that. So if that comes back, since everybody's so interested in guns and everything, if that's such a problem, why don't everybody just team up and deal with it?
What would you do if you had a strong... Hi, my name is Anastasia. What would you do if you had a chance to build stronger gun laws?
That's such a problem. Everybody just team up and deal with it.
Then I would limit where they like ship the guns at because like it's not like they get it straight from the state. They get it from other states too that don't have the same strong laws, the same gun laws as us. So we could like the same laws that we have here, we could get all around the USA.
Does anyone else around?
Wait.
Okay, so we have a question on the table, and it's how can our schools be better prepared for situations in which gun violence
St. Joseph,
is brought into the schools and teens are shooting and harming themselves?
Can you repeat it?
Yes. The question on the table is how can our schools be better prepared for situations in which guns are brought into the schools and the teens are taking it into their own hands to harm other students and there is teen gun violence occurring.
Can you repeat it one more time, slowly, please?
Okay, the question on the table is how can our schools be better prepared for situations in which guns are brought into the schools and the children and the youth in the school are affected by it, either by shootings or someone is harmed severely, and how can we end it? Possible solutions.
You can like you can have more, better security. You should, your school you should have metal detectors to check your book bags, like your pockets to check you.
I feel as if metal detectors aren't really reliable anymore because they make new gun material and they get new material and new ideas for guns every other day. So who's to say they won't come out with a plastic gun that's just as powerful or something like that? But I mean, it's a start, but a better, more reliable way would be to keep bags out of school, or the first day of school they put all the materials inside a child's locker so they don't have to carry anything to school, or even better, just make everything easy to attain, like online classes, online things, or just single sheets of paper.
I feel that maybe if there are more like search laws, like the principal or whoever searched the lockers maybe once a week to check to see if there's any weapons, book bag searches when you walk through the door, yeah, and basically that's basically it.
So I heard some really interesting responses, and one of the things I'd ask Jalen and Nadia, you both said increased searches and principals being able to look in your locker. Do you believe that violates your personal rights or constitutional rights? Because that's what a lot of people argue.
Not really, because you shouldn't have, when you're in school to learn. You shouldn't have anything that doesn't pertain school that you would need for your classes. Like, it should just be straight books, pencils, paper, textbooks, whatever you need should be in your locker, and that's all. Jackets here and there, I mean, sweaters, change of clothes, but other than that, there shouldn't be anything inappropriate, violent, and whatnot in your locker.
Um, Truthfully, it does violate your privacy, but you still have no business bringing a weapon to school in the first place because you didn't get signed up to school to go kill somebody or to go injure somebody or to go scare anyone. Because if you put yourself in their shoes and you don't know what's going to happen, you wake up in the morning thinking you're about to learn something new, you're about to graduate, and somebody runs up to you with a gun or a knife and stabs you or kills you, then it wouldn't be as much of a privacy violation then, because then you would want the same thing to happen if you were the victim.
So many. Because we are in a Catholic school and we stand firm on the belief that God will protect us and that He covers us and ensures that we are safe. We should not think that we are prisoners and that we don't feel safe in our learning environment. To add on what he said, we should not have anything that is not school related or pertaining to school with us because we are here to learn in the community where we are with our second family. Especially just like a Catholic school, as we said, that God is here watching over us, and we don't want to feel as if we are constantly being watched, or they should have to go through our property.
Yeah, because like metal detectors, and they kind of make it feel like we're kind of we're like at a prison, because like you should feel like we're in a safe environment, that we trust in the students that go to our school to not bring anything that cause harm to us.
When children are going to school, they should feel that, Miami Mati Castillo, when children are going to school, they should feel that they are trusted. And when we have metal detectors and security guards at the front door, it makes you feel like the principal or the teachers don't trust you enough to let you go in without any weapons, like school supplies. Yeah.
And also that would turn away parents from sending their child to a good school that they can have a better education. And to end it off with a question, our question is, what can we do to make sure that we are safe in our schools and environment?
Can you repeat that?
Everything?
What can we do to make sure we are safe in our schools?
The question is, what can we do to make sure we are safe in our schools and environment without metal detectors and security guards?
DJ, you have questions?
Yes. My name is Calvin. My question is, does gun violence stop you from going outside like the next day because you're scared?
Actually, like I stated, when my friend was shot, it took me a few months to even want to step outside my door and just go hang out. Like, I mean, I would have to go to school and get education, but to actually go and stay outside, like I would rush home, make sure my phone was always charged to call my mom. I would call her when I'm leaving school, the block after my school, when I'm close to home. So it actually took me a while to really be able to open back up and just like step outside just to be with my friends.
Um, Not really, because usually when that happens often, you actually adapt to get used to it. But when it's more of your first or second time, it comes as more of a surprise because you're not used to hearing the sound of a gun, or you're not used to the danger that could come with a bullet. So when it happens, it's just you have that millisecond to think about your next move, whether you duck down, whether you run, whether you go about your business. It's more of that millisecond. So it's however you feel in the moment.
And people who know me know this to be true. I can't sit to this day with my back to the front. So I always have to face the door wherever I am because I've got to be able to see who comes in and out where I am. So that's how it affects me.
Does anyone else have a question?
One person.
Stand up, please.
Okay.
What can we do about gun violence in our community?
How do we have being strength after losing a loved one to gun violence?
Well, I gained my strength back because I thought of the thought that my friend was watching over me and that God would guide me through the day and hopefully make sure that I'm able to wake up to another morning.
Okay, so we have a question on the table, and it is, as mentioned earlier, we asked
I'm used to it, so
a, pre-
I don't really feel
a previous question,
it's probably gonna take
and you guys mentioned to have metal detectors and security guards. Our question is, how can we feel safe in our schools without the metal detectors and security guards? Like, what other methods are there to really
It doesn't take long, but it doesn't take a short amount of time because it really depends on who it is and how close your relationship with them was. Because if it's like a close cousin or a favorite uncle or aunt, time to adjust, notice.
Everybody will come away with understanding why you did this today.
I hope people see what we're trying to do is to like stop gun violence and for people to use their words instead of violence, like hitting, like fighting. Um, this town hall meeting, it's like a step forward to making a big impact in your community and in ours too.
We're trying to make a difference in our a lot of way because to do with somebody to know that we.
I also hope that people will walk away, the folks that watch this or hear about this will also know that young people are finally taking a stand. It's rare like this put on by young people shames people twice about their actions. The folks that think that they're tough, that think that they need guns to do things, I hope that they'll see the young people that are involved in this program and feel ashamed of themselves. We might, with them in their fists. Any acts of violence should be condemned. And I think that this is a beautiful first step towards reaching that goal.
Okay, kids from the Catholic school asked us, what are alternatives that we can utilize without the need for metal detectors or security guards? Any suggestions?
Yeah, one thing that they do in some schools is peer mediation, where young people are trained to handle disputes in the schools. So if you have trouble with somebody else, with a fellow issue, really popular in the criminal justice arena is what they call restorative circles, where people who are harmed get to talk to the. They have found is that it's been because of violence are just done on a whim, and the perpetrators that would be very helpful in curbing violence.
Does anyone else have a question?
Is that by a hands up a gun?
Well, for me, waking up to know or to find out devastating news like that is like basically a piece of my heart was basically just like ripped out because it's like that person, for them to be so close, had to be like a part of me. Like we could have probably done everything together, or I probably told that person more than I probably told anyone else on this planet. So it's more of like a part of you was taken away, and usually you'll walk around feeling like there's a hole in you, but it happened.
If you finally stop gun violence, what would you finally have for your community to do?
I probably would have a celebration or a cookout, because then everybody can actually be around each other and bond and chill and just be happy that they don't have to worry about somebody not waking up the next day because somebody else got mad or angry with them.
I would say take our message and keep spreading the word because enough is enough.
Anyone else?
Yes, from Texas.
My name is Tatiana. I'm 12, and my question is, why do you think that it's okay to bring a gun to school?
I would like to make a comment and say that we should all vote for the right city officials because they may be able to pass laws to stop gun violence for teens.
Hi, Dallas. Hello. Can you guys hear us? Hi, Texas.
Yellow kid.
Hi. You guys. We're good. How are you? Sorry, we got scared when you guys spoke because it was like really loud. So, would you guys like to keep the conversation going?
Yes, sure.
So, how's
Dallas in this fun?
No. How has gun violence affected you guys? Like, as you guys say, do you guys fear going outside sometimes?
No, not really.
Not really. It doesn't really. It happens.
It depends where you are.
Yeah, it depends where we are. Cause Dallas is kind of a. It's kind of a.
Oh. Yeah, like I get scared sometimes when I'm outside at night. And my dad is disrespectful sometimes when I do my hair. He makes me walk to my house. So when I'm walking home and it's nighttime, I get scared.
I would also like to say that we should, like, people who are, like, in gangs, they shouldn't be focused on that. They should be focused on going into college and having a brighter future, not shooting people and having to